It's Platt, and today we try a stunner of a beer. That's next to Platt's Beer of the Week. So today the particular beer we're trying is Steve Austin's Broken Skull American Lager. This is the second addition to the Broken Skull series. We reviewed the IPA a while back. Broken Skull is a collaboration between professional wrestling icon Stone Cold Steve Austin and El Segundo Brewing. They've already now have a separate marketing page for Broken Skull beer. They have 2 beers so far, but I almost get the feeling they've gained enough traction. We might be seeing more down the line. Real quick, let's start off with Stone Cold himself. Stone Cold was born Steven Anderson in Austin, Texas in 1964. Apparently 4 years later, in 1968, his mom divorced and remarried, and the gentleman's name was Williams. And he adopted Steve, and he became Steve Williams. Steve eventually graduated high school and went on to play linebacker and defensive end at my alma mater, University of North Texas. Steve, I think, left 3 or 4 years before I got up there. I want to say he's like 6 years older than I, 7 years, something like that. But our paths never crossed, even though I would like to talk to him who's the biggest beer drinker in North Texas history. I'm not making claims, I'm just saying. Steve went on, of course, to start wrestling in the Dallas area, originally under his name, Steve Williams. Had to change his name because there was, at the time, a professional wrestler named Dr. Death Steve Williams, who at the time was more popular, and thus he changed his name to Steve Austin. After finishing up his wrestling career, he got into the world of movies, did movies like The Longest Yard and The Expendables, also did some TV work, Nash Bridges, etc., including a TV series, a reality series called Broken Skull Challenge that happened at his Broken Skull Ranch. That's the name of his ranch. Thus, that's how we get the name Broken Skull for the beer. As far as El Segundo Brewing itself, El Segundo was founded in 2010 in El Segundo, California. The owners envisioned a brewery that would bring those kind of classic hoppy San Diego-style beers to El Segundo. They've succeeded in doing that. The breweries continue to grow and flesh out the product line. The brewery itself is located in the heart of El Segundo on Main Street. Besides the tap room, they also have a pizza restaurant called Slice and Pint. So if you go in to try one of their beers, you can get you a slice of pizza. Pizza, beer, kind of works together. Real quick, let's talk about some of their other beers. First is Porto Pils, 4.8% ABV. Classic Pilsner type beer, nice little hop bite at the end. Lawnmower beer, or the verbiage they use on their website is it's crushable. If you've never heard that term, it's just generally a session beer, lower in ABV, easy drinking, something you could drink the can and then crush it, kind of thing. More of a chugging beer, I guess, maybe is another term for it. Next is Dunkelbock, 6.5% ABV. This is an interesting beer because of a unique collaboration. They collaborate with a gentleman named John Palmer. Some of you may not know who he is, but in the homebrewing community, he's kind of a legend. He wrote one of the penultimate books on homebrewing called How to Brew, just a legend in the field, and it's cool that a brewery has reached out and done a collaboration with him because he has definitely earned it. Next is Mayberry IPA, 7.2% ABV. This is a classic hoppy West Coast IPA. Where they got the name's kind of cool. Apparently El Segundo is referred to as the Mayberry by the Sea. I never knew that, but kind of a cool little story there. I guess it's a quaint little town. So that's where they get the name. Lastly is Old Jetty Barrel Aged Barley Wine. This comes in at a whopping 14.3% ABV. Sounds really cool. Barley wines are big, intense, full-bodied beer, and then you add the barrel aging to it, just even picks up more of those great flavors and more of that intensity. Definitely interested. Check that out. Right now they sell a 2020 and a 2019 version. I love breweries that do kind of these vintage year style beers. Some of these beers need that time to age also too. I think it's great marketing and something kind of borrowed from the wine industry, but they've done pretty good with it, so I think it's appropriate. Well, before we try this particular beer, though, let's check out the stats. So today, since we're talking about wrestling and beer, I thought we would talk about one of the great urban legends of all time, and that is Andre the Giant, more specifically his drinking prowess. I'm sure we've all kind of heard the stories, him drinking, could drink a case of wine or knocking back a liter of vodka, no problem. Just a prodigious drinker. Of course, a massive man. They claimed he was 7'4". He's probably more legit 7-footer. Did walk around at probably 400 plus pounds, probably hit 500 at a time. So he was a massive human, but his drinking is just, like I said, legendary. A story I just found out in researching this that just makes me chuckle. Supposedly during the production of Princess Bride, if you remember, he had a little role in that movie. He was there for production for about a month and was just put up in a hotel and ran a bar tab at the hotel for the month. The tab at the end of the month came to $40,000. That's right, $40,000. Now that seems like a lot now, but remember, this is probably 86, 87 when he's doing that, over 30 years ago. Adjusted for inflation, we're looking at $80,000 to $100,000 bar tab for 1 month. Kudos, my man. Now, what I really want to specifically talk about is probably the most famous story or stories. There's several of these out there that at some point in time he consumed either 100, 110, 115 beers over a 6 to 8 hour period. Several people said they've seen it. Well, this happened in Montreal. No, it happened in New York. No, it happened in Atlanta, wherever. But enough of these stories come around where there seems to be some sort of validity. So I thought we'll break it down a little bit. First, let's just for round number say he drank 100 beers, and let's just say he drank 12-ounce beers. Pint, 16 ounces, 116 ounce beers might be a little too much. And when we break down the numbers, I think you get it. So 100 12-ounce beers, that is 1,200 ounces of beer. Or it comes to 4.22 standard American cases, 24-pack cases. So he basically drank 4 cases and a 6-pack. You get done with 4 cases, give me a 6-pack for a nightcap. Unbelievable numbers. Another way to look at this is the standard U.S. keg, 15.5 cases or gallons, is 1,984 ounces. He drank 1,200 ounces supposedly in 6 hours or so. That is 6/10 of a keg. Just let that sit in a little bit. Now, I do want to play devil's advocate a little bit, just because my time in bartending and just, noticing some things. If you see a lot of the pictures of Andre back then, you notice he's not necessarily drinking cans, even though there's that one picture of him holding a Molson can that looks so tiny, or a ton of bottles. You generally see him with the classic Pilsner glasses. Now, when I first got old enough to go to bars and start bartending, there were still some of the old school bars that did that. A lot of bars back, we're going 40, 50 years ago with Andre, didn't have the massive coolers, didn't have the massive beer bottle selection, so they probably didn't keep more than a 6-pack of maybe, back then it would have been Budweiser, Miller High Life, Pabst, Stroh, something like that, maybe a 6 of each, but they would have had tap beer, because tap beer was just cheaper. And that's the way a lot of the tavern owners, these restaurants, would have operated. Now, in a big honky-tonk like a Billy Bob's or something like that, yes, they would have had bottled beers like that. But the restaurants and bars, from what I gather, Andre wasn't a big public guy, so he was doing this in restaurants and hotel bars. There's a good chance he was getting Pilsner glasses, and they weren't 16-ounces. They were probably 12-ounces, but, you had a little head and stuff. It might have been 10 ounces of beer. Now, some people say, well, why does that matter? Well, 10 ounces compared to 12 ounces over 100 beers, that's 200 less ounces, or roughly, instead of 4.2 cases, 3.4 cases. It's still an insane number, but we have to admit, at that kind of volume, an ounce or two here or there does make a difference. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Well, that being said, let's drink a Broken Skull for Andre. All right, nice and plenty of carbonation there. So, got a little aggressive on the pour, so we got plenty of head, but you can see when I pop it, plenty of bubbles. Pretty clear beer, nice white foam head. Pretty simple nose, not much on there, no real hops. Let's give her a try. It's just nice, easy drinking lager, crushable as the kids would say. This is probably more appropriate for what Steve would have drank, in wrestling. He's doing this and he's throwing around. I couldn't imagine after a long match having to down 4 or 5 IPAs right afterwards, doing that. If you remember his wrestling gag, he would throw back. Half of it he spilled, but he still would probably get 4 or 5 beers in his gut right after a match. I just couldn't imagine doing that with an IPA. But this is just a nice full, it's a nice non-light or diet American lager. Thirst quenching. I can definitely see, again, after a match or whatever, I want to knock back a couple of these. Thirst quenching, nice, balanced, just a slight touch of malt sweetness, but nothing, you know, nothing too much. No real hops on it besides just providing balance. Crisp, clean, just like I said, just nice kind of standard American lager. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe down below. Also, please like the video because it lets YouTube know we're putting out good content. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or beers that you'd like me to try, please leave them in the comment section, or you can always contact me on the Twitter page. Till next time, bottoms up.